everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today we are rolling on Kickstarter for March 2019. Really excited for this month as Kickstarters are beginning to pick up even more so than they did in February, and there's lots of great projects to check out on Kickstarter right now. We have one entry in this particular video that is going to be very time sensitive, as I'm announcing this in the video, but it's been on the Kickstarter page here for quite some time and is in its final day as of, or last 24 hours, as of this video landing for you guys. So very important note on that one, because I wasn't able to get it into the last rolling on Kickstarter video. It literally started the day after, and now it will be basically ending the same day that this video lands. So I definitely nailed the timing of that one perfectly. But at least we're mentioning it and not missing it, because it is a great game. It'll be the first one in line here. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, first off, the big disclaimer I want to say across this video, guys, is always want to be transparent with you guys that in no way, shape, or form is any of the individuals that are part of the projects or games that we're going to be showing here on this video paid for. So this is all just my own interest in terms of which projects really jump out to me, which ones I think are interesting, have legs. Of course, some of these we know have legs because they're going to be reprints or additional content to games that are already established in the solo community and are loved. Some of them are brand new, and that's where there's a bit of research involved into whether or not you trust that creator on the first go around, and that research is really important in those particular cases. But there are always hidden gems to be found for sure. So, without further ado, we're going to move into the very first game that I started talking about here as we opened up, and that's going to be Shadows of Killforth. So, as you can see right here, this is the Kickstarter page for Shadows of Killforth, a fantasy quest for 1 to 4 players. So, solo built right in from the get-go. This is not a stretch goal. This is something that was implemented and designed within the game from the get-go. This one was created by Tristan Hall, and this really, even though it is Shadows of Killforth, is going to add more content to Gloom of Killforth, which was prior on Kickstarter. So, if you're looking for the project that basically is the initial one that started this line, then you're going to be looking for Gloom of Killforth, and Shadows of Killforth is going to basically take on some of the things that people were interested in from the original Kickstarter and the reprint and things like that, and then moving into this new content. Now, again, you'll notice right away that it's been very successful, and I think this is far and away more successful than the original ones were in terms of dollars pledged. So I'm really happy to see that, because I truly enjoyed this one. This is one of the earlier playthroughs I did and showcases for a solo game. This has a really strong card-based RPG in a box kind of feel. So essentially it's taking an RPG and basically putting it into card form for you to play through. And I really enjoyed it. It did a good job of that. Of course, you're not talking pencil and paper, tracking all kinds of stuff like a typical RPG would have you to do, but it just cuts that all away, and it just comes down to the feeling of playing an RPG in card form. It really does a great job of that, and the adventure that you feel as you go through it really it unfolds very nicely throughout the game. So as you can see, 20 hours, not much time. This is when I'm recording it. By the time you guys actually see this, the risk is going to be that there's only going to be a number of hours likely remaining. So if this is the first time that you're hearing about this one, I highly recommend that you check out the Kickstarter page, which you're seeing here on the screen. All of the information is labeled out. You're not going to miss anything. You'll find everything you need to know. So again, you're seeing here the Gloom returns is for 1 to 4 players. You can actually see there that you can pledge here for 1, essentially. And you can go all the way up from there as well. To actually pick up Shadows of Killforth by itself for people that are returning. You can also go crazy and start picking up everything if you want to grab the stuff that, from the past that was missed. Or you can get a kind of a higher tier for the returning backers called Touch of Death 2.0. And, you got the Hall in, which is a play on his last name, the creator's last name, Tristan Hall. So there's a whole bunch of people jumping in on that one. Actually, that seems to be, out of all of them, the most. It's actually really cool to see that. So there's a bunch of people at the $1 level, which will give them access to the pledge manager, and then at that point they can go ahead and up things in their pledge manager. But it's exciting to see that people have jumped in and gone all in, because they're truly new to the whole thing. So that's really exciting to see that it's attracted that many new solo gamers in. Now, of course, it's a 1 to 4 player game, so I don't want to make this sound like I think that all of those backers are solo players, but the solo aspect of this has been so well done and received by many different outlets in the board game community that I really do think that that is swinging the pendulum pretty heavily in terms of the success. So it's definitely helping. It's not hurting. It has great artwork. This is one thing that I always mention with Gloom of Killforth. You're going to see it throughout the Kickstarter page. The artwork is phenomenal, and it's the same artist throughout every single card. So you're not going to have to worry about cards not being uniform or looking different across the artwork, which is something that you see in beloved games like Lord of the Rings, the card game, which I love, but you kind of got that one artist doing it one style, another artist doing it another style, and you might have a favorite artist. Here, you're seeing the same consistent quality throughout the entire thing. And when I tell you that the artwork is amazing, it's very easy these days to sit back and say that artwork is amazing, especially when the quality of things have gone up so high. But really, this is on another level. Like the detail and the pop of the cards is crazy. And this is kind of giving you a glimpse at some of this stuff right now. Like the artist is phenomenal, and really hope that that artist sticks along with Tristan as he goes through his future projects, because it's a really big deal to have somebody this talented involved in your projects. It really does help. That barrier of entry goes down quite a bit when somebody sees that the game looks good. It's one of the first walls that people typically walk through to determine whether or not it's something they're interested in. So they do a phenomenal job with this. So you can kind of see all this here. You can go through it yourself. Lots of information. I'm not going to dive into that, but they're unlocking stretch goals like they typically do on Kickstarter for a number of different things, giving more encounters and dividers and all kinds of stuff. So I cannot wait to see this. The other really cool thing is they added in neoprene play mats, and there's going to have stitched edges to them too. So there hasn't been any neoprene anything for this game through the prior Kickstarter, so I was really excited to see that. I also was really happy to see card dividers, because being a card game, you gotta, at this, when it gets to the level it's at now where the cards are becoming, it's a larger collection of cards, it's nice to be able to break them out. So these are great stretch goals and worthwhile ones at that. So it's probably another reason why people have crushed these things. And there's more to come, so who knows what will happen in this last 24 hours. Typically, it's very exciting. So you can see the artwork's just legitimately awesome, and I love it. It's so good. They have a whole section here on the Kickstarter that talks specifically about solo play. So right out of the gates, you got it. Solo play is there, no worries. And it even talks about it here. And how it works. And if you want to know more information in terms of how it actually plays, I did do a playthrough on Rolling Solo back when the original one delivered, and I had a ton of fun playing that through. So if you guys want to go see that, that'll give you a good idea as to how the game flows and plays all the way through to the end. So you can actually see a full playthrough and get a really good understanding of whether or not this is something for you. The replayability of this one is high because there's multiple enemies or nemesis you can go after. Now, I forget the correct terminology off the top of my head for the ultimate evil one that you're going after, but there's a number of them. And of course, these new box contents are going to just add to that. But again, like when you go ahead and play through one particular enemy, or one particular boss or tyrant, essentially, you may not experience, and I shouldn't say you may not, you will not experience at all the same progression in terms of how your adventure unfolds. It really will be different. The locations will be the same. Of course, I think they're adding in more content that way, so there's some variation there. But the layout of where the locations are and what's connected to what all changes on the next playthrough. So again, the replayability is there. You can play it again and have a different experience and have different barriers to try to succeed. So really, really highly recommend this one. Definitely look into it and don't miss it, because it is really a great game. I love it. So anyway, all the stuff is here about the add-ons and stuff, and of course the artwork is coming across from the cards to the neoprene mats, and I saw these when they were originally announced on the update, and it blew my mind. Some of these things, like some of these, like the hero playmat, like look at this, like you're playing a card game off these playmats. They're gorgeous. Like that looks so good. And then, of course, you got gameplay videos on here as well. If I continue to scroll down, you'll find videos and things. So there's mine, for instance, and there's a number of gameplay videos you can check out that'll cover the game and give you information. So that's going to pretty much wrap up Gloom of Killforth. I really, really think it's a fantastic solo game. And I really am happy to see it succeed this well, and to see this thing go into the $200,000 window. Now, of course, I'm talking Canadian, so if you're talking US, or not even US, but UK, you're talking 138. So that's still really good. I think in comparison to those prior ones, this might be his biggest one yet. So that's really awesome. So anyway, guys, that is going to wrap up Shadows of Killforth, one that's highly recommended on my list and has been on top 10s in the past for me as well. And the more content that gets added into this one, the more excited I get. And you never know, this thing may end up on another top 10 once I get that new content and I'm able to check it out and see what it's like. We'll see where we stand with it, but it is a fantastic solo option. Definitely give it your time. Next up, we have another amazing product here on Kickstarter that is no stranger to anybody in the gaming community, and that is Root. However, this particular Kickstarter aims to focus on bolstering what is a already fantastic, fun, and enjoyable game multiplayer-wise, but had a very underwhelming first run at a solo option for Root. This one was called, and is called, the Underworld expansion, so it's based on an expansion that's going to add some more factions into the game that you can play, which is awesome. The game itself in multiplayer is amazing. What was really lacking in Root, the original one, at least that I found, was it didn't have the gripping solo play that I really wanted in the first iteration of it. Now, it was something that was probably just being explored for the first time, because that wasn't the major focus of Root. Root was very much about playing with other people, seeing the synergies across these different factions as they intertwined in this woodland area, all using and bouncing things off of each other. A lot of interaction going on between the gameplay, and so implementing a solid solo option in this kind of a setup is a very difficult task. So when you guys actually see this video land, there'll probably be somewhere around 2 to a single day left on this one. If you saw the original Root and you tried the solo then and you weren't overly impressed, some people I have heard have enjoyed it. And I actually enjoyed it, but just didn't think it was as strong as it needed to be in that first iteration. And what I'm really happy to see here in this particular Kickstarter is that they're addressing that. They're actually putting a focus on trying to make the solo mode called the Better Bot Project, which is what they're implementing, I guess, with this particular Kickstarter going forward, is the ability to have a stronger solo option. Now, what's even cooler is the fact that if you take a look here on the page and you just actually search for Better Bot, you'll find a paragraph here, and we'll talk about an update that actually gave more information. But this one here says, in addition, we've got a new set of automated factions built in collaboration with an individual who's actually creating this, Benjamin, and his project. And for returning backers, they've got all kinds of other new faction boards and rule updates for that third printing. So that's where some of this stuff is going to change. What's really cool is not only the fact that they identified the fact they wanted a better bot inside of Root, so they heard what the people said and are really aiming to please there, which is awesome to see. But even more cool is the fact that if you jump over here, you can see that there was an update that came out, and there's probably been a number of them, so I might have missed something along the way here. But this particular update right here is specific. I think it was around, that looks like update 11. And this says, hello everyone, and it goes through a entire kind of quick overview, I guess, of what the Better, or the Better Bot project is all about. It's kind of a tongue twister every time I say that. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. But essentially, what's going to happen here that I'm excited about is the fact that the actual solo play is going to become much better. So I cannot wait to give that a try. But even more so than that, it's going to be so good and so well made that you can actually implement a AI bot into a multiplayer game if you want to. So if you enjoy playing this thing solo and then you want to introduce this to a friend, and you only have the two of you at the table, but you want to have the synergies of all the different woodland creatures bouncing off each other, you could literally set up a bot or two or more to be running as you play. So you're introducing AI into multiplayer games as well. So it's kind of a twofold win for them. There's not only the focus of trying to appease and make the solo players happy by giving them a much better, robust solo option, but on the same side of the coin, they're also hitting two birds with one stone by going ahead and giving the people that love this game for multiplayer the ability to just have other automated factions and they're screwing around. And you know what's perfect about that is if you're playing this multiplayer, that's great because I'm intrigued by that because as you learn the game and you learn how the different factions work and how different they truly are from each other, what becomes really interesting is the fact that introducing an AI that's going to control one of these factions, you'll understand how it works if you've played it before, so it may not be too shocking, but what's cool is that you won't really be able to read it as easily. It's gonna be harder to probably figure out what the next turn for that bot's gonna entail. You understand what the faction's strong and weak in, and how it kind of operates in order to be successful. But with a bot, you never know how it's going to act. And with a human player, you can. When I play multiplayer games with my friends on Monday nights at game night, I know specific people and how they operate. When they're playing a certain game, I have a good idea as to what options they'll likely try just based on their personality and what they're kind of, just their, how they essentially function when playing a game. But if you got a bot in there mixed in, you have, that thing is just throwing a wrench into that whole situation. And I really like that because it could really introduce some really interesting replayability there. So very happy about that. And I don't want to go into details because I'm not the person to talk about, whether this is going to be fantastic in the end or not. I'm really excited for it because I think they're taking it seriously and they're really looking to, like I said, the feedback that, you guys and everybody else provided them to let them know that they wanted something better than what was originally released, which was good, but it could have been better. But they were also focused on trying to get the product to the door. They now have that time and that individual who has the skills necessary to make it happen. So if you say all that at the end of the day, I wanted to just mention it because if you either skipped on this game originally because you heard that the solo play was weak in the first iteration, you might want to rethink that. You might want to take another look at this, read some updates, get kind of, research into it to be sure that you've made up your mind on that, because you might miss something special here when this lands essentially. And so that's something. But again, if you're already a fan of Root like I am, even just for the multiplayer side of things, and I thought that the solo implementation originally was good. I can't wait now to see how this is going to change, and if it gets better than what it was originally, which is the reason they're calling it the Better Bot project in general. If it gets good enough, I'd really like to showcase this on the channel. I'd really like to show you guys, what I think about it and actually play it through and show you how it operates. So we'll see how that goes, and that's more of a future thing, but I just wanted to bring this project up because I do love the game, and I really have high hopes for what they're looking for in that Better Bot project. So that is going to be the second project here that we've talked about, and again, this is another one that's in a time crunch, coming right down to the very end. So hopefully that gives you enough information to be intrigued about it, or maybe research further into it, and then it just comes down to whether or not you'd like to pick it up. Next up in the list is Folklore: The Fall of the Spire. Now this one I'm really excited about as well. There's so many good projects hitting Kickstarter right now, it's getting scary. To be honest, the rest of this year is going to be quite the drain on the wallet as the months go on, because this stuff that's coming out now on Kickstarter, of course, you always see games that are brand new, that you've never seen before, that look super interesting, but then when these types of games come back, the ones that are established, the ones that are loved by a solo community, these ones come back and they really, really capture you, and this one is one of those games. I have all of the original content from the prior Kickstarter. I'm a big fan of this game. I really enjoy it. There's a couple things about it that I think could be a little bit tweaked. I'm not going to get into that here, but the game is awesome. I really love it. I love the storytelling. I love the feeling of it. The thematic feel and the narrative is great. It's much stronger if I was going to compare this to Gloomhaven in terms of how it actually captures you and brings you into the story. It is much better than Gloomhaven that way. I do love Gloomhaven. Don't want to compare it apples to apples because I do think they're two different things going on there. But narratively, I really think Folklore kills it, knocks it out of the park. It's really, really good that way. And again, it's also designed and built smart in terms of the tiles and things like that. They aren't really tiles. They're kind of like light, essential. I don't want to say paper, but they're basically extremely thin. They're a little bit higher higher print copy than typical tiles are. But the cool thing about them is they're flexible. You can store large numbers of them without having to worry about having a crazy storage solution. So, for instance, I have Shadows of Brimstone. Every tile is a legitimate punched out token type board. So when you start accumulating multiple expansions, you start wondering, how am I going to store all this stuff? There's a ton of tiles here. This one, you can throw them in like an envelope. Like it's literally like nothing. But the variation and the different the actual color and the print itself is so nice. Like I don't know how to describe it while I'm just doing audio here, besides showing you guys video and stuff like this on screen. We might land to a spot here where it shows the actual game board itself in a particular scenario. There's a good example of one right there. So like the artwork on it's really vivid, I guess is the best way to say it. They design it in a way that you really truly can see day and night, lights, all that kind of stuff. It really does contrast off each other really nicely. I'm trying to find words to really kind of describe it, that feeling. But when you see it on the table, you'll be very surprised at how much life is in that particular setting. This is a really, really awesome game. This is one that I really, really highly recommend as well. I have not done a showcase of this one on the channel, but I did mention recently with the launch of this particular Kickstarter that I was sincerely interested, and have been, based on my community telling me that they really want to see this one done. I want to let you guys know that I don't ever promise time frames on my showcases, because this is my own passion to be showing you guys these games and things like that. And things change, other games come out and all this kind of stuff, my schedule, and I have my own life as well, of course, that throws wrenches into things. But at the end of the day, the one promise I can make for you guys is that I will absolutely be covering this at some point in time. Now, I know that doesn't help you at all, but I am telling you that I am going to be doing this one for sure, because I cannot wait to play this with you guys. I think it'll be a blast. I know it will be. So, what to know about Folklore, the Affliction, when you are looking at this thing on Kickstarter? Well, there's a whole bunch of content that came out originally. So if we go back up here to the very beginning, you can see here, this is the Beastmaster Pledge. It's not cheap. There's a lot of stuff here. But this is going to get you caught up, from my understanding. And of course, once you go into the Pledge Manager, there's going to be multiple options in there as well. So be sure to go check out add-ons within this campaign as well, to be sure that, you know, if you're going to be if you're one of those people who's like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to get everything, you might want to do some research on what everything entails, how much it costs. I haven't double checked because I don't need this one, but I haven't checked. This one truly could be everything. It sounds like it is, because it does say give me everything. But there might be some add-on type stuff, like a neoprene mat, for instance, that maybe not in here. So check on that kind of stuff. But that at least gives you the idea in terms of probably content for gameplay. At the bare minimum, you're definitely getting everything in there. There's also the difference between miniatures and standees in the game as well. So, you know, check that out as well, because you can kind of go either way there. So you can see right here, like a new backer who wants standees only. So what I really appreciate about this is if you're one of those people, solo players, that are sitting there going, I don't need another miniatures game taking up, you know, tons of space and blah, blah, blah. I just want the game, the content. I can live without the miniatures. I can deal with standees. You know, I play Gloomhaven. I know what that's like. I'm good with that. Then you've got options for that. And what's really smart on their part is that they went that extra mile and they allowed for either. So they appease either side. Me personally, I like miniatures because it draws me into the experience more. When I use standees, I feel like they're passable. Like in Gloomhaven, I still am perfectly fine with them. I can play the game and not be complaining or think that I've disconnected from the theme. But when you have a miniature in front of you, it just pops. And I mean, that's honestly what it does. It brings something to life. And it's something I can't get away from. It's just how I feel deep down inside. And when I see a miniature versus standee, I will take the miniature every time, no matter how many miniatures I have. So I'm glad to see that they have the option for both. So again, long story short here, you've got the top pledge here, which is the I've already got a bunch of stuff from the original core, don't need anything, then you're coming here. This is basically what I'm coming in for, is this. Essentially, I just need the new stuff. And so it's not going to be overly expensive if you've already picked this stuff up before. But, you know, overly expensive is a relative term on Kickstarter, because every Kickstarter's price is wildly different. And of course, if you're looking to get all this stuff, it's going to be expensive. But you got a really nice detailed page here. Shows all the miniatures. They actually have some really cool rotating pictures for the new individuals that will be joining the fray. The artwork on some of this stuff is really nice too. You know, quality wise, you're not going to be disappointed. Like, I have the original stuff and I'm happy with all of it. I didn't have any quality issues at all. I'm sure that some, you know, it happens, but I'm sure someone out there had an issue somewhere. But I didn't run into anything. I thought it was a great presentation. I think everything about it was fantastic. Um, so at the end of the day, it really just comes down to, do you like the gameplay? Are you buying this because you want kind of that RPG feel? Because that's really what this is going for. It's essentially going to take you through a narrative, and it's essentially going to give you that RPG board game. That is what this is. It's going to be using dice that are beyond just a six-sided die. So anyway, long story short, that is Folklore the Affliction. Definitely look into this one as well. You might have a hard time this time around. You know, March is a tough month. This is gonna be, there's gonna be some competition here. You might be already, you're sitting between Shadows of Killforth, Folklore the Affliction, and Root so far in terms of options here, just in this video alone. And if I truly had to pick one of the three, I'd have an extremely hard time figuring out which one I want. So if you're going to ask me that question in the comment below, I will be letting you know that I could not make that decision without probably many days in a very dark basement alone, pondering my life and trying to figure out which is the better option, because it'd be tough. It would be very tough. I just want all of them. But sometimes that's just not doable. So anyway, this is one to check out. Do your research, as I always say, to be sure that you're interested, but you don't have to worry about these guys. They've been around for a while, so this is not the type of project you're going to back and worry about your money disappearing. So let's go ahead and check out the next option. All right, so the next one coming up here is Carnival Zombie, 2nd edition. Now, I gotta admit here, I've had quite the fill of zombie games over the last few years. Zombicide being the major one that has definitely run the zombie side, oh my goodness, see, I can't even say the word zombie without saying zombicide by accident. But basically, I've run through the zombie theme so many times in the past already that I think when I see a theme that has zombies attached to it, I get less excited when I see it now. Not because I don't enjoy zombies, but I just go, is it any better than something I already have in my collection? I typically keep one zombie game in my collection that's legitimately about zombies, and in this case right now, it's Black Plague. So this is going to be a Kickstarter that's going to interest people if one of two things. One, you already own something that's a zombie project from prior and you're looking to kind of upgrade to something new, and you want something that's established and seems to be well liked in the community. Or you're somebody who has no zombie stuff at all. Like, you just don't go down that road, or you've never picked up a game that has that theme ever. Then this could be a project that could be really worth exploring. I was really shocked that I didn't know more about this one. I actually thought that this was just kind of a random project that I had just never heard of before. And shortly after this thing landed, it just started garnering tons of backers, and the dollar value of this thing just went right up. And I was like, wow, this thing has got some legs here on Kickstarter. It's doing really good. Now, I'm going to be completely transparent and honest with you guys. Because of that initial judging a book by its cover scenario, I literally did not do any research on this. So I do say do research all the time, and here I am not doing my research. But the reason I'm showing this to you now is because I've come back to it while doing this video, seen how successful it's been, and it's piquing my interest, because I'm going, what is it about this game that's making it so successful, especially because it is a first-time creator as well. Now, what I'm also noticing here, though, is there's a number of different individuals, like the Dice Tower, Board Game Geek, blah, blah, blah. They have all these seals and most anticipated games, all this stuff pasted all over this one. But then I came down here and I saw Carnival Zombie 2nd edition, and I went, oh, so wait a minute. There was a 1st edition, and this is the 2nd edition, but the 1st edition, I guess, just wasn't on Kickstarter, or maybe I don't know how to search and I can't find it. Or it came out way in the past and, you know, did its thing then, but just it didn't. Maybe it was a great game that just kind of got shelved underneath everything else that was coming out that had to do with zombies. But because there really hasn't been too many zombie projects lately, although I think Simon's working on another big zombie one, The Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead, I think, is what is coming. So that's kind of another thing to also remember, that, like, you know, there's always another zombie game coming down the pipe. So if you're trying to figure out which one to get, do some research and figure out the potential projects coming, not only the ones that are available. But I mean, going through here, you can see like multiple comments from individuals that are well known in the gaming community saying like this thing is really good. Now, what I don't know is I don't know what the solo is like, because the good news is that it's a cooperative game. So if it's cooperative and most people are saying that a cooperative game is good, it typically means that if I play this thing solo, it should also be good, unless some of the mechanics don't really translate from from multiple players playing to a solo player playing. So that's kind of where I have a disconnect. I can't inform you guys as to whether or not I have an opinion on this thing's a really good option that way, but it's something to look into. So the reason I'm showing you this in this video is to say I'm thoroughly surprised and impressed, and I really do think you guys should give this some time, take a look at it, and dig into it. You'll likely become more familiar with it than I am through your research, and be able to kind of have some input. So if you guys are one of those people that have already backed this and already kind of been following every update, let people know in the comments below here what you think, where it's currently at for solo play. Maybe if you can, and you can do this across any of the projects I brought up so far, but guys, if you can specify in comments exactly which updates pertain to solo players at times. This is something I might start doing actually in future ones, although it would take quite a bit of effort to kind of go through all of that. But I think the community here is so helpful that I think if you guys were able to start throwing that kind of information in the comments, I might be able to pin it, so that if somebody comes in and looks for a project like this one, they want to know specifically what they talked about solo-wise, and it's in a update, which of course this one has 28 updates. It'd be nice to just be able to go, oh, in update 14, they specified everything about solo, and I could just kind of fire people straight there. So yeah, maybe we can work together, make that work, make that happen. That would be great. So yeah, I'm not even going to try to explain this game. It's got zombies. It kind of looks like a tower defense thing going on. I don't know. I could probably do a better job of reading the description at the beginning instead of just guessing. Let's see. Let's find the description at least and read that. So Carnival Zombie is a cooperative board game for 1 to 6 players, following a group of characters who are fleeing on a terra firma from a sinking city overrun by zombies. Okay, so this is like standard zombie territory here. Players control this party of heroes as they fight their way to one of the possible escape routes out of the city. During the night, they face restless hordes of zombies, while during the day, they recover, move, or search for useful items and survivors. Okay. There's supposed to be story mode, multiple finales, scenarios, blah, 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 blah. All kinds of craziness going on here. What is that? So, I don't know, is deluxe version versus regular version, I'm guessing here. I mean, the pledge levels are crazy high. Oh my gosh. Wow. They have a $900 pledge level, but nobody's backed it. That's probably why. $300. A bunch of people back this one. So this is the deluxe contest. I'm guessing this is probably like all the fanciness, and you got artwork in there too. This is probably where most people sit. Yep, 2,000 something backers. So it's like the happy, the sweet, the what is it? The best bang for buck, basically. That's probably where most people are going to sit in the deluxe version. So yeah, it looks interesting. I'm certainly intrigued. I'm certainly in the board. I remember when it first came out and landed on Kickstarter, I looked at the board and I was like, "What is going on here?" It looks like a mural. I can't really tell, but then I like kind of looked at it a little further and closer up on some of the pictures, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, interesting." But mechanically, I still don't understand exactly how it works. But I can see here they got tiles that obviously overlay things and stuff like that. So I'm intrigued. I would certainly be open to trying it, because like I have a game, like I said, I have Black Plague. I do enjoy it, but it's one of those games I just know that it won't be in my collection forever. Like it's good as it stands right now. It makes me happy to have one Zombicide game like that in my collection. But one day I'm going to sit there and say, I'm just not playing this anymore. I'm just, or maybe I'm not interested in it anymore, and stuff like that. And if I don't touch it for a year or so, I might sit there and say, let's let it go. And then maybe something like this could be a potential replacement. So interesting. So that's going to be this one. Not much more to say, but looks very successful. Blew past its actual original goal. And I would do some research on this one, because it could be something you're interested in. This next project is not for a game at all. This is actually for an accessory for board games. Now, this gets into a whole other conversation in terms of my opinion on accessories and furniture. So first off, accessories, in my opinion, in the board gaming hobby is typically safe. So yes, there will be creators that will be their very first time creating, and there is a risk associated with that, because if they don't fund, although this one fund, for instance, and I am not relaying any of the comments I'm about to make towards this particular project, but whenever I see an accessory-based Kickstarter go up that has to do with the board gaming hobby, or a furniture-based one, I definitely have a radar, and my antenna goes up a little bit, kind of thinking that there is a risk there. You may not see anything for your dollar. Now, when I say that, what I do want to clarify is the fact that when you're talking about accessories like dice or play mats and things like that, those things I have typically, when I have backed them, they've typically always come to me. I've never had any issues with them, and I haven't run into an accessory-based board game Kickstarter that's ever had an issue. And this one you're seeing right here falls into that. So again, first-time creator though still. So you have to do your research and make sure that there's a trust there, right? When the first time you see somebody try to do something like this, there's a little bit of a worry of like, is it going to deliver? Once they do that first one, they get over the hurdle of that trust issue with their backers, and then the second time through, you've got a lot more support. So I always love seeing individuals trying to create something different. This one really aims to try to do that with custom game maps where you can literally tell them the exact shape, size, and image of your table, and not the image, but the shape and size, and they will cut it exactly to that size. What's really cool is, there's a lot of playmats out there that are rectangular or square, and they're literally just a certain size, or the size differences between options are like a couple feet. So if you're kind of going, well, my table sits right in between two of those options, so this is just completely useless for me. The cool thing here is that they're going to literally custom cut it for your table. So you can have a game mat that you put out and fills literally the whole thing perfectly. So they do mention here that it's pinpoint kind of accuracy, so they're literally not kidding about that. It's to the T in terms of the measurements that you'll supply them. And what's also cool is that, they're looking to probably, would be my guess here with this particular one, is probably create some type of sustainable business out of this. So if they can do this in a way that's successful by allowing people to put artwork on it, you got some edge stitching, which I remember, like this stuff became very, very popular through Chip Theory Games. They did this on all of their neoprene mats. Of course, I'm sure people have done it in other projects elsewhere, but in the board gaming hobby, this is something that I think CTG basically kind of, I wouldn't say pioneered, but they more so took very much advantage of in order to kind of make their mats look even better. I'm a huge fan of that stitching. I truly think when a mat's laying on the board, if it doesn't have the stitching on it, it bothers me, because over time there's wear and tear that occurs on those edges, and it's really nice. The stitching really does not only give it a nice polished finished look, but it also makes it look more like a picture or a seamless product, instead of it kind of like, hey, we just cut it and threw it in a box and sent it to you. So I like that. It's 3mm thick. It's American made. Those are all pluses. And of course, there's a lot of really cool options here. So the creator himself has actually got videos. You can watch these videos in order to kind of figure out where his head is at with everything here. And you can see here that he's got like a website going. So my understanding of it from the get-go anyway, from what I understand, is that this is going to be one of those situations where, yes, you can pledge on the Kickstarter, but I think the aim at the end of the day is to create a business that's going to be sustainable beyond this. So yes, this might come back to Kickstarter again, because this is where he's able to get some individuals to back and get that the money necessary to kind of begin that trek into the whole business side of things. But what's really cool is that he's already sent a bunch of these things out to people. And actually, my uncle Rodney Smith actually did a video of this recently. I think I watched a little bit of it. I already have I have way more playmats than I possibly could use, but I can see value in this particular playmat because of the fact it's custom fitted to my table. So I have a particular gaming table that I use even for my shots on my channel, and I would really like to have a custom mat that's made for that filming table, so that I can always have a consistent mat there, unless of course I want to get kind of crazy, as I typically do with thematic mats and pictures and everything else. I kind of like being creative, so it usually isn't just a standard color, but it'd be nice to have one of those, and you can go wild with this, I'm sure. So, long story short, lots of individuals involved in the hobby that are trustworthy individuals that have gone ahead and put videos out and stuff like this. So that definitely eases my concern with this one. And again, as I said, accessories in the board gaming hobby are very less likely to not produce product in terms of like dice and stuff, because typically it's small. It's like dice towers, dice, playmats. They're all doable things. What scares me is when people start doing furniture, because that is a whole different beast, and there's a lot of people that try it and they just don't have the understanding of all the different issues that come with furniture. And if they could actually talk to a retail store that has to deal with furniture, even just at the end of the the whole trek that furniture has to go from design to all the way to actually being sold to customer. I mean, they're just dealing with the customers coming back and saying, "Hey, I bought this particular thing and the leg is loose or it's broken, and what do I do?" Well, you have a Kickstarter that has anything to do with furniture, and you're the guy they're coming back to, and those usually typically do not go so hot. They usually run into some serious issues, and I've seen it happen. I've been involved in a couple, and I'm not going to point them out either, but I'm just going to say I've put money into two of them years ago, 3-4 years ago, and I have not seen that money ever again. It's gone. I know it's gone, and it's not coming back. So yeah, furniture that has to do with board games, just don't do it through Kickstarter. Do it through somebody who's already got an established business and that is able to serve you at full capacity, not as a, oh, you got your product and we might be able to have the time to give you kind of that customer service that you need if you have issues. You don't want that. But this is totally different. So those comments have nothing to do with this at all, because this is an accessory. These are things that I really think this individual can deliver, like dice and all this kind of stuff. So really excited for this one. This is cool. I like seeing stuff like this because I'm always a big fan of making the game experience more immersive. So when I see something where like I can get a playmat that I can actually use that's specific to, you know, something like, for instance, I'm looking at this and I'm like, look at that. So I'm like, if I'm playing Shadows of Brimstone, like that would be a cool mat to have on the table, right? So things like that, I kind of just gravitate to thinking like that all the time. So there's a ton of really cool images here that you can actually choose from. I think they said 60 plus, but I just wanted to show you this project. It has nothing to do with a game, but it has everything to do with the hobby. And I'm really, really excited for this individual to see it through. And of course, it already hit its goal, so it's going to fund. It's going to happen, which is great. And stuff like that. And it's continuing to go on. There's still 15 days or 16 days left in this one. Probably less by the time you guys hear this. But that's all I'm going to say about it. So if you're interested in getting a custom game map, a mat, I keep saying map, then this is definitely one you should take a look at. All right, and that is going to wrap up rolling on Kickstarter for March 2019. So first off, as I always say in all of these videos, if I did not mention a project here in this video, it is not because I think that project is no good. There are just more projects on Kickstarter that have solo in them that one person could possibly try to cover. So I'm not going to essentially be able to cover everything. I'm only showing you guys the ones that I'm truly excited for. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the ones that I'm pinpointing. There's a whole bunch of other ones that are, like a lot of these ones here that are actually out right now that I showed you guys are kind of, in terms of dollars spent, these ones are heavier ones. But there's a lot of small box games that are coming to Kickstarter soon that I'm really excited about for you guys, because it's always nice to be able to just pay like $20 and have a really good game versus having to go for these monstrosity of games that sometimes just basically empty your wallet into the street. But I love them, and you know, it is what it is. So there's a whole bunch of other solo games out there on Kickstarter. You guys will be aware of some that I didn't mention here. If you found one that you really think is a gem, or you think it's something that people should know about, definitely let me know in the comments below, and let everyone else that's watching this video know as well, because what's really cool is sharing that information around can lead to us all finding something that could be really, really cool and interesting we didn't even know existed. So Kickstarter is a deep bucket worth of projects to find, and there's, you know, you never know when you're going to stumble upon something really, truly special. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. Cannot wait for April to see what wildness is going to occur on Kickstarter during that month. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, keep on rolling solo.